I'm ready. Yeah.
Our town hall tonight is Tuesday, May 30th at 7 p.m. We're going to have our first town hall for traffic safety. We have some serious issues that we need to address in the community for traffic and safety, especially speeding. But I have one announcement that I want to make sure I make, and we hired a superintendent of code enforcement, and his name is Harry Calderbank. No collection tonight. Okay. Harry Calderbank. Yes, with an H. He is going to start June 7th, so please be nice to him until then. We need him. Until then, we need him. Okay? So, and we believe that he will bring a lot of, he's already presented ideas to us on speeding, traffic, things like that, code enforcement, which we really do need. So, Harry, I'm not going to put you on. Do you want to say? Okay. Yes. Yes, he is a resident. Harry, do you want to stand up so everybody can see you?
Covered on my assessment. As of right now.
No. So yes, he does live here.
Actually, he's come out of retirement.
He is coming, yes, Gail, he's coming out of retirement for the 5th time, maybe? No.
The last time.
The last time. Yep. So we believe that Harry can help us address a lot of the issues that we currently have. He set forth some really good plans that we'll further talk about once he gets on board. So June 7th, he'll be starting here with us. And Tracy, I'm going to now put you on the spot.
Ready? Can everybody hear me? Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. I truly appreciate it. I'll stand up. I'd like to thank Harry. As a matter of fact, I served on the ACC committee with him, and when he resigned from that position to go to code, I was like, we are blessed because we have such a rapport, and he's done such a great job on the committee that now we can all work together, and hopefully you guys get some of these things resolved. So thank you again, Harry. I would like to introduce the committee. This is Lucy DeGuire, Harry Calderbank, Joan Wallach, Steve Smetko, and Sheila Walsh. And we are all working very hard, you guys, to make some changes, and I'm quite sure they're going to happen with Harry's support, and the board has been absolutely behind us 100%. So currently, I just want to go over briefly what we're doing, and then we're going to open it up for questions. We have a couple things that a couple people on the committee would like to speak on specifically. But first, I'd like to thank the board for approving the 4 no parking signs on Country Club. We appreciate that, and the men's club as well donated $200 towards those signs. We'd like to thank them as well, which we've done, but we just want to remember that if you guys see them, just thank them. It's good for the community. So we're working right now with Public Works, and we are doing a great job. Millie is working with Billy, and we're taking our inventory of what we currently have in our signage inventory so we can reduce costs, so we're not buying stuff we don't need. So we're going to get that completed, which I'm not sure has ever been done. So that's another thing we're working on. We're also working on an evacuation route, and I'm going to let Lucy speak on that momentarily. And then we're going to have some speed limit signs, hopefully. These will all go through board approval, obviously, but these are what we're working on. We're working on some speed limit signs coming into the park, right as you hit the gate, so that's something Steve is going to touch on. We're also working on a cone issue, and we're hoping this will come to fruition, but we're hoping that all our maintenance vehicles that come into the park or are in the park will display cones when they're working in the roads so that they'll be more visible to the community. And we can all work on that. Hopefully that does come to fruition. people can call and say, hey, there's a guy out there working, he doesn't have cones out. So we're working on that. We don't know exactly where that's going to go yet, but that's pretty much what we are currently working on. And I'm going to go ahead and I just want to say that we are committed to working with code enforcement to make all these things happen. So, and I'm going to let Lucy speak on the evacuation route, and Steve will speak on the speed limits, and then we'll get you to your questions. Thank you.
Okay, basically I have a couple of maps if people want to come up afterwards to take a look. Are you hearing me?
Go on, yeah.
Hello? Okay. Appreciate that you didn't hear me. Oh, okay, she's gonna pass them out. Basically, I don't have it in front of me anymore, but, oh, thank you. But we know there are 6, not really 6 units. There's unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. There is no 5. And Mark, who's not here tonight, but he's on our committee, has worked on this. I worked with him, but he did a lot of the figuring out himself. And if you pass it around, you'll see that yellow, and if you look at what it designates, it means unit 1, whereas pink is unit 3, then unit 2, and so forth. Anyway, right now, the evacuation signs are misleading. They're ridiculous. That's all I'll say. But we're working with Billy. Millie and I spoke with Billy. And between Millie and Billy, they will see, first Millie will find out if the county has some signs that they can give us, even if they're temporary signs. And Billy will try to work it in his budget, along with the board's approval, to get proper evacuation signs. But right now, I don't know if you even notice where those signs are, but Mark and I went all over the place, and boy, we found some ridiculously placed evacuation signs. Now, just because these signs are coming doesn't mean you have to follow them, but they will at least give you the information about which unit should head in which direction during evacuation. There are 3 evacuation routes. There's the main gate, which if there's a true evacuation, there'll be not just one way out, but 2 ways out. Then there's where Adolph is. I bet you say, where's Adolph? Well, look at your map. Yeah, that one, there's a gate there, and that goes out of Grove, and we're hoping that people that use that during evacuations only take a right, so they can get to 50. And then the school fence, or should I say gate, that's the 3rd place. And there we'll also have a sign saying take a right, so they can at least get to Oak Grove Road, and then decide if they'll head towards 19 or try to go down to 50. Now, just know that as we work with this, you are not obliged to follow them, but they will help you to know the best way out, and then it's your decision if you evacuate, which I hope you do if it's really serious, or if you plan to go the other way. But this is to help people not to all cluster in one place.
Also, I'd like to add that once we get everything done and approved, that these will be posted at the clubhouse and at the office, so everybody knows what the unit is and where they're going to go. Thank you, Lucy. I'm going to have Steve speak briefly on his suggestions. We're trying to work on some things that we think might just help out, and Steve is working on our speed limit sign at the entry, so I'm going to let him speak on that.
Hi. As Tracy's pointed out, one of the things that we've been doing, the entire group has been doing, has been reviewing the existing traffic signs, regardless of whether speed limits, curves, that type of thing throughout the entire community. So, of course, we've been identifying what signs should stay where they're at, what signs perhaps might be moved to make it more efficient and more knowledgeable for people to follow. Of course, obviously, some signs have been weather beaten and that, so that's also been being cataloged. So those type of things will be addressed. One of the biggest things that we, of course, have heard and experienced ourselves is the issue of speeding, okay? So that's one of our main focuses and what we can do. Obviously, Harry getting on the, taking up his position is a great benefit to us, because at the end of the day, what we're going to do is get the signage correct around the community, and then it's going to be up to people, you know, because we can tell people over and over and over again what the speed limit is, but they're going to go what they want to go, right? So we'll make sure that they should know what speed limit they should be following, and after that, then you know, it's at their own risk, shall we say, what's going to happen. One of the things that I saw, one of the things that we talked about as a committee too, is in general, as posted at the beginning at the beginning of the park, there's two different signs, if you've noticed, on both the east and the west side of the community. It states that the posted speed limit, or the speed limit in Brookridge, unless otherwise posted, is 25 miles an hour. Okay. Now we all know that Brookridge Boulevard is 30. There's a few other areas that are less than 25 or less, based on perhaps the geography of the area being a little bit dangerous. Country Club up here, which happens to be one of them. Okay. Well, one of the things that I noticed is the signs that are posted upon entering the park are distanced away from the guard shack and the gates. You might have noticed them. They're rather tall, rather high, that is. One is on the median, the other is on the other side of the street. So one of the things I've written up for Tracy and will propose to the board is we want to reinforce to everyone, not only residents, but to visitors and vendors, okay, by making those signs more, shall we say, visible and in someone's face, okay? So I've taken a look at that, and what I propose is that those signs be moved closer to the gates, so that when everyone comes in, guest or resident or vendor, they're going to see those signs. Now, whether, of course, we can't make them read them, but we're going to make it so that, hey, you know, nobody could say, hey, where are they? We didn't see them. They're right there in your face each and every time you come to the park, okay? So that's just an example of the type of things that we're looking at doing, okay? As Tracy pointed out, we've already had board approval for putting in no parking zone signs on the hill on Country Club. If you've ever come there, that's a crazy blind spot. And in fact, actually just today, there was someone having some yard work done, and they were parked smack dab on the top of the hill. Somebody may have seen it. It's just dangerous. Okay, so that's, again, another example of what we've done in surveying the park. The other part is we're going to take down some signs that are redundant or aren't needed anymore. So the idea here is not to just, you know, flood people with more signs or whatever. We just want to make it more efficient and make them count more where they're going to be. Okay?
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to have Harry read something that was done by the prior advisory committee. And this was about 3 years ago, but I think it's food for thought, you guys. So just give a listen to this, and then I have one more comment, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Tracy. As Tracy said, there was an engineering study that was considered about 3 years ago. We brought a firm in here who looked at the roads, the circumstances under which we're operating then and continue to do now. And the simple fix seemed to be, well, we'll lower the speed limit, or we'll change the speed limit, or we'll put some rumble strips in, or many things like that. But it's not quite that simple. And what they discovered, much to everyone's chagrin, I think, is that the roads as we have them today would not pass the requirements for if this community were to be initiated right now. These roads are over 40 years old. They complied with the standards at that time, but they don't at this point. To alter this would be out of the question. I mean, I think the cost would be slightly less than what it costs to run some countries in the world. It's just astronomical. But there was a couple of things that were really, that leaped out from this report from this company that came in and made this evaluation for us. And I think it's fair to say that most of us, most people in this community would agree that speeding is an issue. Not just on Brookridge Boulevard, that's the one that's most obvious, but some of our side streets, we have residents who complain constantly about maybe one or two individuals who speed on those roads. I have seen it stated on some of the social media that we use here that that's not true, that there really isn't a speeding problem in Brookridge. And I think that's very narrow-minded and closed-eyed, but interesting, this engineering firm who has no axe to grind here, they don't live here and so forth, they made comment about the fact that during their routine inspection of the roads for their purposes that we just mentioned, they found speeding on every major and minor road over and over and over. And their position was that it became apparent to them that Brookridge has a significant vehicle speeding issue on its roads. So, that said, the question is, how do you handle, what do we do to slow them down? What do we do to bring things back under control? And that's the purpose for this committee. During the meetings that we have had initially, and even most recently, there's been comment made about all these ideas are terrific, but if they're not enforced, why bother? We might as well be shopping at Walmart rather than wasting our time here. I can tell you, without any reservation, I hope this doesn't sound like it's a commercial for Debbie, but that board of directors is absolutely committed to getting a handle on this issue. There are things in the works that will hopefully will be in effect very, very shortly. And I think that if I wanted to get any message across at all, it was that I want you to know that between the board of directors that we have and this committee, which unfortunately I will no longer be a part of, but we're going to try. There's going to be some things that are going to be done, and we're going to get a handle on this, okay? So, there you go.
Thank you, Harry. Just one more thing. I just want to let everybody know how serious this is. We had a resident hit by a car last night on the boulevard. He's okay. He prefers to remain anonymous. They didn't get any information. He's got some bruises and bumps, and so it's obviously an issue. And it just happened that this happened last night yesterday during the day. He was walking his dog. So we just no, but just keep in mind that's why we're trying to do everything we can just to try to get this under control. But I think we're all set here, and if anybody has questions or comments, you're more than welcome to.
And I just have one thing tonight, and I shared it with you, Tracy, a little while ago. I'm literally sitting at my kitchen table watching two people in a golf cart go the opposite way on Brookridge Boulevard because they only lived, and I jumped up, watched them, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing, first of all. They only lived 4 houses down. So instead of going the right way, and there's a little cut through that they could have went through to go right in their driveway, they decided to go the opposite way over the hill and down. And I can tell you, I live on Brookridge Boulevard, and I live on the hill, and there is times where I have seen all kinds of drivers, pickup trucks, cars, delivery people, where I actually thought they were gonna just jump the hill like a Dukes of Hazzard. Seriously, so I can see it every day where I am. So, and I know it's all over the place. So I'll come out there, and if you have questions, we'll go ahead and start the questions. Good old Ken. This is a town hall, not a story town. Okay. Is it a soap opera? All right. Tell us who you are.
I'm Ken Walls. Uniform. When you turn on the Country Club Lane off Brookridge Boulevard, it is only a half a mile to Hampton Street, which goes directly to the clubhouse. We have 2 speed zones for this first half mile. Why not this half mile be all 20 mile an hour until you reach Hampton Street? Then after Hampton, it can increase to 25. You're continuing straight on Country Club. 25 mile an hour is what all secondary roads are unless otherwise posted. Most all traffic signs from outside most all traffic, excuse me, not signs, but traffic, people coming in from outside the community to the clubhouse, go this route to the clubhouse. We should already have signage that's 20 mile an hour after removal of some signage when the head of code enforcement resigned. And I guess that's about it. But everybody, one thing, safety begins with you.
Amen. Thank you,
Do
Ken.
what you can on this speed. You got to be a little smart. Take care of yourself. Ain't nobody else looking out for you but yourself.
Thank you, Ken. We've already proposed, go ahead, you guys, I'm sorry. We've already proposed to move, when you come out of here, right out of the clubhouse, you turn left onto Country Club. There's a 25 mile an hour sign on your left. We've already proposed to the board to move the 20 mile an hour sign, which is up on Fiat, down closer here. So the first thing you see when you turn left out of here is that 20 mile an hour sign. And also there's 2 other ones farther down. We're going to bring those so that the speed changes in both directions at the same time. Now they're staggered, and we have proposed that. So we're working on that. Ken, thank you very much.
Do you want to tell us your name and what unit?
Hi, my name's Evelyn Mitchell. I'm in Unit 6. Trust me, I'm a loud talker. If you can't hear me, you got issues. Anyway, so a couple years ago, we moved here. And as I told Tracy the other day, we are avid bike riders, riding since I could walk. Was going out the gate, won't get into the whole big incident or whatever, but was very rudely told, you can't go out the gate, you gotta back up and go through this walk thing and whatever. So again, long story, I've been asking and asking to show me where in the rules, the regulations, whatever, emailed the clubhouse, they were gonna forward it to code enforcement. Nobody has ever given me any answer as to where it stipulates any rules, regulations regarding bicycling in and out of the Brookridge community, as well as within the Brookridge community. So as I was trying to exit the gate and the lady there told us we had to go around, her words were if we had a sit-down bike, we would be able to use the gate. So, which to me didn't make any sense, otherwise known as a recumbent bike. When I questioned as to why that was, she said because a recumbent bike does not fit through the walk-through gate. And I said, well, what difference does that make the size? If you have to go open the gate anyway, why not open the gate? So I printed out some exhibits, and each one is just blown up. It's a distance and then more blown up to show that it is a safety issue that we are expected to travel out and then go across traffic into a parking lot that the traffic is coming out of and going into to get to this gate that is trying to, you know, push open a gate and push a bicycle and not get the thing slammed on you. And if you already have issues with your back and neck, you don't need that. And yeah, I have an electric bike and it's 70-some pounds, and lifting it over the curb and or so. Aside from all that, it is a safety issue. Florida state law, the previous code guy that was here, whatever his name was, I don't know everybody, we've only been here 2 years. He basically said we don't have to obey Florida law or any other law, we have our own laws. That's what I was told, quote, end quote. And I said, well, it's a safety issue, regardless, the laws were made for bicyclers to travel with traffic because it's a safety issue. And like I said, that's where I am today, still lifting my bike up and traveling against traffic. And if you see the arrows there in the highlighter, you can see where we have to go in and out and around. And then after you go through the gate, you have to go against traffic again to go to the outbound gate. So it's very unsafe.
Thank you, Evelyn. We're going to address that, and I cannot tell you, as a matter of fact, what the stipulations are as far as Florida law goes, but I know now that Harry is here that they could have circumvented that issue by just letting you out and saying, hey, next time use the other gate, but that didn't happen, and I apologize that that did not happen. But we, as a group, and Harry and our new code enforcement, we'll work on those things. That should have never happened. I apologize. But we will work on those, and I think in the future that some things will be coming up that might make everything easier and safer for the community on bikes, golf carts, cars.
I still have the question that is not answered, because when the gate was broken, I said, oh, let's just jolly on through here. And I was told basically to stop and go out the walk to gate, which was really ridiculous. So where again, and I'm not picking because I like all people, most of the people. And I've asked to show me where, you know, I used to work in law enforcement many years ago, and show me where it says to do that.
Find out. I will make a point. We will find out what the stipulations are.
Actually, we're looking for it right now, so we can see. Does anybody else have a question? Way over there. All right. Hey there. Can you give us your name and your unit number?
Sure. I'm Kathy, Unit 3. Okay, I come from Rialto. I walked my granddaughter this weekend. I was told to get off the effing road by a golf cart. Almost got hit with my granddaughter, who's only a year old. We're going to have some big issues, but I'm not going to take it. I will stop calling the sheriff department and having them come in.
We appreciate your concerns, but what is your suggestion? What can we do as a committee to help you and as a community?
First of all, there's a stop sign at the end of the road they do not stop at. It's a lot better now, in the past couple of weeks. Golf carts are a problem. They don't stop at stop signs. I think I've addressed it before about putting humps in. Not bumps, humps, just like they have at the front gate. We need them. We need them on Rialto. It's out of control.
And I will talk to Harry. He will be our new code enforcement.
Okay, we have a lot of people that ride their bikes, like this woman. We have a lot of walkers. We have a lot of people that walk their dogs. And I walk my granddaughter. Someone is gonna, we already had somebody get hit yesterday. This is the first of many of it's gonna happen.
Thank you, and we're trying. Like I said, this is a brand new committee. We are doing everything in our power right now.
If I swore it again, or basically pushed off the road, I am gonna get the plate and I'm gonna call the sheriff.
I appreciate that. I live on Country Club, right at the top of the hill, and I cannot tell you how many times I've been flipped off, sworn at, people backed up. I mean, I'm right at the top of the hill where you cannot even see. So I get where you're coming from. And I'll tell you this story quickly. I've told it 100 times, but I live right on the top of Country Club. My neighbor was blind. She had dementia. Her grandson used to walk her across the street. And I thought, good Lord, when is she going to get hit? And people come barreling over there. So I made it my mission 7 years ago, and here we are now. That's how long it took me to get to this point. Not that I finally went through different committees to get here, but I know what you're talking about, and I promise, as the chair of this committee, and with Harry's support, we will fix these things.
Especially the elderly that work walking here. They're not as quick as you and I.
Hello there. Tell us your name and your unit number.
Esther White, Unit 4. I just have a question. When you say they go up Country Club, I know they work and they do park on the hill and they're going to put the cones out. Are they still allowed to do that when they're working for a house? You know, they're going to be able to go around those workers?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
On Country Club, when the guys park on the hill and they put their cones out, people are going to go around.
There'll be no parking on, there's a long stretch there
So
now.
how are the people gonna get their houses serviced?
We're working on that, but I think part of it, anybody that has like a hose that, you know, like your bug guy, because I have a bug guy and he has a hose and he can't get to my house otherwise, so there will be some stipulations.
Yeah. No, the logistics of it is that nobody is that far, okay, from us, whether it's Dinsmore, Cedar Cove, or whatever, Nickelodeon, nobody's that far from a place where they can pull off a country club and still have access to what they have. Okay? And the other part that we've been talking about, you know, with the issue of homes, right, is that we're not talking about necessarily microphone. I thought I was talking loud enough. My wife would say I talk loud enough. No, the other thing about with the issue of cones is we talked about it and we haven't finalized it yet, but you know, the idea of like an Amazon delivery, okay, that kind of thing, we're not talking about that. We're talking about somebody's cutting somebody's grass for a half an hour, plumber's got to work on your house if he's not in your driveway, you know, it's going to be a couple hours, that type of thing. In fact, some of the vendors now do it themselves. You probably noticed. Some of them put out cones. We think it's a good idea that all vendors, again, that are going to be staying for more than just a few minutes, do that. And, you know, obviously they think it's a good idea if they're doing it voluntarily, right? So, you know, again, it's just one of the things that we're looking at. But to answer your question, right, on the top of the hill, it doesn't matter whether it's a minute or two or whatever. It's a blind spot.
Yes.
It's a minor miracle, quite honestly, something catastrophic has not happened there. So the combination of the no parking zone and another proposal we made, and that is putting stop signs on the top of the hill, country club, and going both directions to slow down that traffic more. You know, we think these are positive things.
I do have one more, if you don't mind, please. When the signs go up and you're coming into Country Club from the guardhouse, the signs will be facing that way. Will they also be facing the other way coming from the clubhouse?
They'll be facing both directions. Right now we have them and they're not even facing, they're actually facing this way. They're not facing,
They're not facing.
no.
I was going to ask, are they going to be
We are
double
fixing
sided?
that. We noticed that. So yes, we are going to fix that. Thank you very much.
Hey there, give us your name and your unit.
Beverly Epstein, Unit 6. I think this committee is needed so badly. It's been a problem in the community for a long time. Thank you. My question is, will the arm be replaced for the exit for the residents?
I have an interesting answer for that, Miss Beverly, and with everybody else. So, they came today. They put the belt back on. After they were testing it, from what I understand, the belt broke. Again. He's now coming back tomorrow with a new part. And that was the last thing that we have heard. And yes, my response was, OMG, this is nuts. And it is. So, I hope that answers your question. Excuse me? We do. We bought a gate century system. It was approximately $25,000. And, oh, and George left me by myself. Thank you, George, wherever you are. I know. We cannot, at this time, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but right now we don't see a maintenance agreement. So I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but George has been in contact with Coastal, who is the person that did the paperwork for all this. He's talked to them twice today, and we are now asking, is there a maintenance agreement? I can tell you we pay $650 a month to Gate Century for us to exist in here at the front gate. So, yes. So we'll talk about that more at the board meetings because we have some information that we want to tell people that what we found out, okay? I'll go to this.
I'm just curious, why are we paying $650 against this trailer?
Well, we'll discuss that at the board meeting. Tonight is just the traffic safety. But since this young lady brought up about no, you're fine, Miss Beverly, about the gate, and I figured since everybody's here, we have the YouTuber people, I figured I'd just tell everybody what happened and how it happened. So. Hey, Derek, can you give us your name and your unit number?
Larry Trudeau, Unit 3. Thank you, folks. Volunteering is a thankless job, and we appreciate you. Traffic in here is definitely a problem. My wife and I walk, we ride our bike. But I will say that most people in here are considerate, because we walk and people will give us a wide berth. There are those who don't, so that's where you folks come in. The only suggestion you could consider maybe is when a guest gets caught going a few miles over the speed limit, which I had one that came down the hill on Clubhouse. They were doing less than 20 coming over the hill. But then I guess they saw the sign on the bottom and you're addressing that. So that they let it go up to 25 and they got hit and I lost my privileges and paid a fine. So that's, I guess you're addressing that, because if you see that sign, you're going to pick up to 25. That's natural.
Thank you, Larry. Just so everybody knows, the speed limit does not change until you hit that sign. I know.
Oh, I know that.
But again, I apologize. I know things are kind of convoluted now, but we're trying to correct some of these things that hopefully will make those things disappear.
And just a suggestion, when a guest gets caught speeding, it's kind of out of your control to a certain degree. I understand the fine, but to lose privileges.
That's really not our purview. That would be ADRC, so that would be someone else that we are just going to be, we're not the enforcers. We just are going to let those people do their job. So,
and it's appreciated.
Thank you, Larry.
And needed.
Thank you very much.
And to address your question about privileges, our rules and regulations board is working very hard on that, and I totally agree with that. And our rules and regulation lady here, Ms. Gill, also agrees with that, and we do have common ground on that, that if somebody coming into the clubhouse and things like that, you know, shouldn't be attached to that.
I can tell them, hey, I got mine because of you, and they'll slow down next time.
Right, exactly.
I lost my privilege.
Right, and we don't think that should tie in together, okay? So, who has a question? Over here? Oh, okay. All right. Give us your name and your number.
Hello, I'm Patty Hobson, and I live in Unit 4. I have a couple questions. Yesterday, I went through the gate, with the broken gate. I stopped, which it says to do, and somebody started laying on their horn, a resident, and I'm like, dude, the thing says stop. It doesn't say go fast. It doesn't say slow down. It says stop. And he just laid on his horn. I want to know, are we supposed to stop or not?
Well, it's a stop sign, so it doesn't really differentiate if it's whatever assisted. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you're supposed to stop if there's a stop sign. And I get it too, because we're all used to going through it, and I've been in the same thing going out the gate. And I stop, and I don't think everybody does. But for me, there's a stop sign, I stop.
Okay, thank you on that one. I also have a couple other things. What is the age to drive a golf cart in our property?
That's going to change in Florida. There's Congress is working on passing. I think it's going to go to 18, and
Right now it's 16.
right now it's 16. And again, you know, the community is really needs to be aware. If things are going on, call the office and say, hey, this is what I saw. We need to be proactive, you guys. We have 3 1,000+ people that live here, and if we can't police our own community, then we're in trouble. You know, so call, and that's what people come to me and say, did you call the office? No. Call the office, make a complaint. Say, or just say, you know, I'm a concerned citizen, I would like to see this happen. The more calls they get, the more they're gonna do about whatever's going on.
Okay, and then I also have one other thing. I live on Scepter, and the lighting is pretty good. There are a few places where the lights up above aren't real well lit. And a lot of people walk their dogs, they walk, have no problem with that. But in the evening, when they're walking their dogs, it's either dark or twilight, nothing reflective, no lights, no nothing. You don't know how many times I've almost hit somebody because I don't see them. I always drive way over on the other side now because you cannot see anybody.
We can address that as well. I can put something in the News and Views to remind people we can't police everybody, but you're more than welcome to go up to them and say it might be a good idea that you wear reflective clothing. We can't make anybody do that, have a flashlight, we can't require that. But the more we get the word out there that we're concerned, you know, for our community, like, you know, we had a gentleman get hit last night. Or yesterday, I keep saying last night, it was during the day, which is even scarier. But, you know, you have every right just to say, hey, you might want to think about carrying a flashlight, or I don't know why they wouldn't, but again, yeah, reflective clothing would be a brilliant idea, but again, we need to police our own.
Okay.
Thank you for your questions.
You have a YouTube question?
Rick does.
Patrona Terman, my unit is the clubhouse. No. I hear more than home. I'm in unit 3. And I live on Inner Rialto. And I just want y'all to know that when they come around that one turn, and it's a straight, the rest of the way down, it's like the 4th turn of the Daytona 500 on the last lap. They come by my house at least 50 to 60, 70 miles an hour by the time, and I'm not that far from the turn. We've walked our dogs and had to jump in the grass several times. So that Inner Rialto really needs to be looked at for speeding.
From Mid-Mar?
Thank you. Harry's on
Yes.
it. And we have the, did we fix the, what are the counters called? I forget. Pico counters. Are those repaired? Pico counter is where it tracks how much speed is going on in what distance of what area, and then that will help code enforcement know. Do we have those repaired? Do we know?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, and again, that's something that we can work on as a group and help the board make sure we can get these things done or bring them to light so that we can address these issues where people live, that, you know, we can make it safe for you guys. That's what we're trying to do. And I've been doing this for years. So finally we're making some headway with the new board.
Greg Barella, Unit 4. People driving golf carts. I think what you need to do is possibly have a talk with the country club, because those people that drive all the golf carts and have golf clubs in the back of their little golf carts seem to own the roads 15 miles an hour at night with hardly any lights on, create a major disaster in this park. So somebody's got to have a talk with whoever runs that club there. I think that might solve some of the problems in here.
On the list, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. And Harry said that's on the list, and I agree. I don't know who we talked to, but Harry will take care of that once he takes control of this. Well, I can't say that. I take that back, whatever I said. Just remember, golf carts are to obey the same rules that your cars are, and we know they don't. I got past, and I've told this story 100 times, I was in the golf cart, and somebody went to the left of me. I was turning on to the boulevard to turn on the country club, and they almost took me out, and I just threw up my arms, and I thought, what the heck? But anyway, we will address those. They abide by the same rules, and that we have been lost in that as well, and we will reiterate that to our people. Thank you, Greg.
Hi, Marcy Company, Unit 1. Mine is not a question, it's a suggestion. Since they stop every person at the gate, why can't they tell them, please obey the speed limit to that person? And also, no, they don't. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not, but I know for a fact that not everybody does such and stuff. And another thing is, especially to the people that come and fix things, so vendors, they should be told to obey the speed limit. And if they don't do it and they get caught, I think they should be also not allowed to come back as a fixer. They will lose their business. And maybe they will teach them a lesson about speeding in here. They should be taught, they should be treated, not us getting the ticket. They should get the penalty of selling. We're gonna give you a break this time, but if you speed again in our community, you are not allowed to come in here and do business here. Because that's not right. I mean, a lot of the vendors do speed in here.
Yes, we do have a problem with vendors as well, and we are working on that.
But they should be told, like at the front gate, please watch your speed limit and try not to speed. We have limits.
And I think things are going to change, Marcy, now that the guy sitting next to me, I can't say his name, Harry. We're really going to address, he does have a big list. In this committee, we all have a very broad scope of what we're trying to work on, but we will, just give us a little bit, and all these things we will take into consideration.
I agree with that gentleman that he should not get penalized. I mean, that was his friend.
I agree too, but we're not the enforcement, we're just the...
I know you're not, but I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Sandy Trouble Lewis, Unit 1. That's my name. I just have a couple of questions. Have we ever thought about painting lines on the boulevard or on any of the streets? Now, probably y'all know that I live in Unit 1, which is Midfield. So I come from the pool, down Country Club, and I have to go across the intersection and then go left. People that are coming into the community onto Country Club, they don't know where to go. There's like no line to keep them over out of my lane. So have you ever thought about painting lines?
We can address that again. They did a couple on Country Club maybe 2 years ago, and then that was it.
Oh, where are they at Country Club?
On the hill, right at the crest. They did right in front of where I live.
On your hill?
Up and down, yeah. And that I think that's all they did, and then that was the end of that. And that's, Sandy, again, that's why we're doing what we're doing, so we can address these. And if anybody has suggestions, write them down, bring them to the office, they will get them to the committee, and we will address those.
So out there where Petrona lives, where they're going 70 miles an hour, can't you put a rumble strip or something there to slow those people down? Why? I don't get that.
Okay. No. First of all, these are private streets.
Yeah, so how can an ambulance tell you what to do?
No, these are, first of all, these are private streets. And as far as having rumble strips or bumpers or anything, number one, our biggest thing here is your emergency equipment. Cannot have an ambulance or a fire truck coming over those bumps.
But let me just add this, you guys. There's some things
they're not legal in this community.
There's some things we have talked about, like the turtles. You know, everybody know what turtles are?
Yeah.
The little things in the road, the reflectors. They would make enough noise that would, you know, somebody's just not paying attention or such. So again, we're working on all these little things that we're trying to do in different areas. So in lieu of trying to have speed bumps where we slow down our emergency people, in a crisis we just can't, you know, put in speed bumps. And yeah, we're working on something. I don't know exactly what we're working on, but
I've also researched maybe adding, they make a lot of stuff with solar now, so we don't have to run a bunch of wires and things like that. They have stop signs that will flash as you're coming up. They have speed signs now that will flash a yellow light when you're coming towards it with a motion on it. I've looked at those also. The only thing I'm concerned about is that people that the proximity of the houses to the street, somebody might not want that, it's going to reflect. things like that I have to consider, but I'm also looking into stuff like that. So they make a whole list of stops, signs, speed things, all kinds of stuff. So we're also looking on that too, even especially around that front gate area.
Right. One of the things, Sandy, you mentioned about the lines, one of the things we have talked about is having, when you come to a stop sign, for example, there should be a white line, that type of thing, right? Yeah. Making sure that that we do that type of thing. The other thing that Mark, who's not here, has suggested as a possibility, something, and if you've ever driven on some of the major highways where they'll have things painted on the pavement itself. Say, for example, so you're going around a curve or whatever, it says 30 miles an hour or that type of thing. So there's other things, that again, that would be relatively inexpensive that we're talking about doing again, to just heighten the awareness, shall we say.
We don't have enough room for, we can't, there's an easement issue because in front of everybody's houses there's an easement, that we don't even own. So, and they should have done that 40 years ago and it never happened. So, no. And we just don't have the room. Our roads, you know how narrow our roads are now compared to, so there's just no way that they can move into the easement and take that property to build sidewalks, and it would be cost prohibitive. So that's why we're trying everything else that we can do, Sandy, to make this safer.
Right. Right, and unfortunately the roads are just too narrow. And remember, 40 years ago, the size of the cars were a lot different than they are now. So, we have huge SUVs now. We didn't have that 40 years ago. So, anybody else with a question, comment, suggestion?
Question about the gate, is that, the gate, is that this committee?
No, traffic safety. Yep. Anybody else with a question? Okay, well, we have a question.
Hello, can you hear me? Lynn Murray, Unit 2. When you're coming down Brookridge Boulevard to turn, or Brookridge Central to turn right onto Brookridge Boulevard, but if you have to make that quick left onto Country Club, I try to get way over. People behind, I'm so afraid I'm going to get rear-ended. Right. And there's a stop sign, but there's a big tree that needs to go away.
You're correct, it does need to be trimmed, and that's what I was talking about earlier. That's where I almost got taken out, because I do that quick right and the quick left, and they came right around my left side, and I'm like, and that tree there does need, and again, we're addressing those things. We have people going out, we're even, at night, we're gonna start checking the reflectivity of our signs at night. I mean, so we have a lot of stuff that we're doing, but we will work on it. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for your time tonight, and appreciate
I
it.
have one thing about the trees. Next week, Millie, George, and Billy, George, and Jim have the list of the trees that needed to have come out. They're going to go around and look at them and see which ones we can do first. But it is a very expensive undertaking. So we're going to look at doing so many now, the worst ones, and then some more. So we are finally now turning our attention towards the trees. Rich Stratton.
Make it simple. We all talk about the speeding problem, and let's look at the, not here, but anywhere in the United States of America, they have rough strips. You know what rough strips are? They're 40 foot long. The road is cut. As you go, tires go over it, they make the noise. And you stop immediately because you think somebody's going out of your tires. So you slow down. We do the rough strips, they come in, oh my God, what's going on? They start to realize what they're doing. You gotta put reality with them immediately. Not a sign ahead. When they're driving, the tires feel it and they get through their hands. Rough strips. They're all over the United States.
They are, Rich, thank you. And that's why we're thinking we could implement the turtles at a much less cost factor that will do the same thing. So, but we're working on it. Thank you.
Boulevard 30? I mean, I know it's way out there, but why? Why it's 25 every place else?
Well, again, that was...
It's still not any wider, though.
I mean, 40 years ago, you have to remember that all this stuff took place 40 years ago. There's never been a traffic safety committee. We've had code enforcement, but now we're bringing all these things to the surface. So we'll address that. And, you know, somebody suggested that we change Country Club to all 25.
20 all the way.
Well, no, they wanted to go, if, you know, we get stopped, they wanted to bring it back up to 25. And I said, it doesn't reduce the risk there. Yeah, it's very dangerous. So, but again, a lot of these things like Harry read, these are things that were implemented 40 years ago, and things have changed, and we have not kept up with the growth in our community. And
behind the time.
Yes, I think. Thank you, Sandy.
Would traffic safety be interested in another town hall style like this, maybe in another month, and bring in some updates?
Absolutely, because we're, like I said, we're working on a lot of things, and every week we come up with something new. And we, like I said, we have so much that we want to encompass that, and we are committed, all of us, to making this a safer community, and we'd absolutely be open to that.
Did everybody like this style? Yeah? Okay. Sandy Lewis, do you have another question? Okay. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll schedule another town hall style with traffic safety so that they can bring in some updates. In the meantime, I know they're going to be presenting some more stuff to us as a board that needs to be done. We're going to be working on the trees. That's an issue because that does go to seeing around corners and things like that, and the signs. And maybe we can at least get some of these signs started to be addressed. So it's almost 8 o'clock. I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I thank everybody for your time. We really enjoyed this a lot. So I'll adjourn the meeting.